Good morning, mathematicians. Yeah, probably still talking about mail. I decided to keep talking about mail. I need to know about it anyways. Yeah. How y'all doing? I feel like it was bad timing putting out the city math tutoring video when I did because I feel like it's taking away views from my book review video, because my book review video was climbing, the views were climbing very fast, and I need them to, because if I'm a good boy, Brilliant gives me a sweet top up. But then I feel like it stopped as soon as my city math tutoring video started popping off. Good morning. Good morning to you all. Anywho, let's go back to Milne. You deram on the cohomology till they form. Yeah, by the way, I've been trying to film the tier list video, and it's very long, and I kind of hate doing it, actually. I don't know. I thought it would be fun. And I'm just putting a bunch of stuff in D tier without reading it because I'm grumpy because it's taking me so long. Yeah. So what can I say that's life? Where were we here? We were looking at semilinear actions, right? Semilinear actions. The functor from K spaces to K spaces endowed with continuous semilinear action is an equivalence of categories with quasi inverse there. Right. I think we looked at that last time. I think we saw that statement last time. And so, as a consequence, for all n, the Galois cohomology in GLN is 1. The Galois cohomology in GLN and SON is 1. Consequently. So that's fine. Also true for SP, which is interesting. Non-degenerate alternating bilinear form. SP is the associated symplectic group. This is also trivial. Yeah. Which I find somewhat surprising, because this corollary says the non-degenerate bilinear forms on here, the associated orthogonal group, this classifies isomorphic classes of quadratic spaces. So one would think that maybe that's, I would have expected. But then again, isn't it true that like all manifolds, like any, if you take a manifold, any symplectic form, any symplectic structure on that manifold is equivalent? Like there's a unique one or something. There's some theorem like that. So maybe that tracks, actually, because symplectic structures are fairly rigid. Maybe that tracks. By the way, I don't think I mentioned this yet, but today's got to be probably a really short episode, like on the order of 20 minutes. I gotta go. I gotta teach class. And I'm just paranoid about getting there extremely early, just to make sure, if anything goes wrong on the way, bus breaks down, or whatever, miss the first bus, something like that. Not in characteristic 2 though. It's not a real prime anyways. Yeah. This can be identified with the Brouwer group of K. Nice. Based. And the image consists of those elements of the Brouwer group represented by a central simple algebra of degree n squared. In particular, it is not necessarily a subgroup of the Brouwer group. That's fair. That makes sense. Okay. So, K is an extension. We have an algebraic group over K. A K form is a group that, if we extend them to big K, they become isomorphic. When K equals the separable extension, we omit it from the notation. You came late, but the stream started late, so it nicely canceled out. Nice. You're not. I am. That is true, Leo. I am not necessarily a subgroup. True. Okay, Galois extension, algebraic group over K, automorphism groups of GK. Then the Galois group acts on the automorphism group by taking the inverse, acting by the automorphism, and The cohomology set classifies isomorphism classes of algebraic groups over K that become isomorphic over big K. Today you uploaded a full solve of a 3x3x3x3 Rubik's hypercube on your channel. Ay. That is interesting. How did you even represent such a thing? I guess I'll have to look at your channel to see. Switch back to top so the plebs can get on. It seems like I rarely miss things when I'm in top chat anyways, but I don't know. Yeah, this is extremely important to me, this theorem, this result. Yeah, about classifying forms. Okay, suppose we've got an algebraic group. The isomorphism classes of algebraic groups that become isomorphic over the separable extension are classified by this. Wait, didn't we just say that? Isn't that what we literally just said? Yeah, special case of proposition. Okay. You wrote a song because you were sad, but it banged, so it was worth it. Nice. I've been working on a little diddly. Basically, I noticed there's this thing that Radiohead does a lot. Radiohead, of course, didn't invent doing this, but yeah, actually, so I saw this woman. There's this woman who has like one hand, but she still plays piano and sings. And she did a video where she called it every blackbird in its right place. And she did this cover of Blackbird. But the idea is that there's this movement. So the movement that happens is, let me think. She goes from, what is it? I think it's C. It's like C to D flat to E flat. So it's a half step movement and then a whole step movement, but like moving like the whole chord. It's like the entire chord, but with a pedal point of C on top. And I realized this happens so much throughout Radiohead, and this is a sound that I really love. So I started writing a little thing on the piano based off this idea. So she's doing this in the song, which, by the way, this also happens in Everything in Its Right Place. You have basically the same sort of chord movement of like a half step, whole step jump. And where else does this happen? The same sort of thing happens in Pyramid Song. The same sort of thing happens in the soundtrack for One Battle After Another, which is by Johnny Greenwood. Yes, I think it's all major. Wait, is it E flat minor maybe? Sorry, yeah, it's all major. I think it's all major movements. But yeah, similar kind of movement happens in Pyramid Song. A similar sort of thing happens in there's like a pedal on so in One Battle After Another, there's dun 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 dun, and so there's this like this little note, you like read it like this. It's like that little note before the next one, which involves this half step movement. And that happens a couple of times where you have this pedal point on top. And then the same thing happens with this like half whole movement, but then like drops it one below. And it seems to follow this very similar sort of pattern. E minor if you're staying in D flat. Well, you're not staying in. I don't think you're staying in D flat though. That's kind of the thing, is that it's sort of moving. It's more based on this overall movement. Do I work in non-commutative geometry? No. Operator algebra is a part of it. I think so, but I don't really work in non-commutative geometry. Where else do they do this? They do this somewhere else though. They do this several places. I think it's a little different, but in the song "Last Flowers," in the song "Last Flowers," there's also a similar movement, and again they're changing keys, so it's holding the exact same chord shape, but I'm trying to think. They move it up. I don't remember what the chords are, but it's like the same structure where it moves up first a half step holding the shape, and then I think it's a whole step, and then maybe even one, and then a 1.5 after that or something. Anyways, the point is I've been playing around with this idea. I decided to take this idea and I wrote a little thing on the piano based on this sort of common sort of technique that I've noticed of there. I don't even know if you call it a technique, but it's like this half whole movement of the full chord, and just sort of ignore the signature and just do this half whole movement. Okay. There's two ways you can explain the representation: directly describe how it looks like, which you can see from the video anyways, or how we generalize it from a 3x3x3. Not you distracting you from studying your geophysics exam on Wednesday. Yes, me. You often move with flats down to change keys or link things. Yeah. That's that parsimonious phrasing, which I had an epiphany about a couple months ago. It just blew my mind. I basically came across, before I had the words that described it, I sort of realized, I had a personal realization about how that's one of the utilities of different phrasing, different chord voicings or inversions allow you to do. And it was such a mind-blowing moment. I think I've talked about that before on this channel. Right. For example, the forms of GL2. I think, isn't this somewhat true for GLN? So I think we did this exercise in the class field theory, at the end of the class field theory series. I think it bled into not being a video post class field theory series, where I showed that K algebra with center K is either a division algebra or isomorphic to M2K. Yeah. And these are exactly the groups over K becoming isomorphic to GL2. So that gives us exactly 2 over here. There's also, I think this gives us an important example of an inner form of GLN over the p-adics, because it's like GLN valued in some p-adic division algebra. You tend to move in the same direction on the circle of fifths with pitch in general, but you should try doing it the other way. Yeah, maybe. Turn that flat frown upside down. Start with the classic perspective image of a tesseract you see everywhere. Meet the outermost cubed, space out all the remaining cubes, and then chop each of them into 3x3x3. Oh, I think I've seen that image. Now that you mention it, Locke. I think I've seen something like that. Notice Eric Clapton's Layla changes keys between D minor and E major suddenly. I will have to pay attention to that. Yes, it did come up in the Brouwer Group saga, I think. Yeah, I think I got hung up on this problem, and then like I ended the class field theory thing, and then the very next live stream was like trying to solve a linear algebra problem live. A kind of chat you notice that is useful is up 2 in circle of fifths is exactly the same as up 2 chromatically. Oh. Actually, I had this idea for a video. I think to do it the way I want to do it and to have it be accessible is going to take a lot of work, but basically I noticed that the pattern for determining each of the parallel modes is that, what is it, the next note, so whatever the note is that you flattened last time, it'll be that plus 3 mod 7. So what is it, you like, because what, Lydian is like sharp 4, and then there's no and then Ionian has no sharps or flats, and then you have Mixolydian, which is I think flat 7, is that right? Because that would be plus 3. It's something like that. It should be plus 3. And then you cycle through this. Well, except the way I write it, because musicians normally don't start on 0, so I take my representatives for the equivalence classes to be 1 to 7. And yeah, exactly. It's all off by 1. So this is, but when I say mod, I mean take the unique representative from 1 to 7, not from 0 to 6. And yeah. And so then I was asking myself, oh, well, what if we pushed it further? And what if I, instead of the ordinary ones, what if you try to go further and you say, well, what if I reverse it this way and I keep doing more sharps, or if I go past Phrygian, no, Locrian is the final one. What if I go past Locrian and I keep trying to flatten? It turns out that you just get a parallel mode of a different key. And so this actually does already all encompass them. And then the other question I started asking myself was, well, what if you don't, because like here you could view it, well, you could view on Ionian as starting on 4 or something, right? As like, but what if you started on a different note? And some of them you run into problems because you basically end up doubling notes. So the thing is, you need to somehow choose it in such a way. I didn't think about the exact mathematics of it, but you need to somehow choose it in such a way that it won't double up on anything. And actually, this is something I still need to prove, but I think that maybe the way that it is ordered may be the unique way that orders it. You have to cycle through it in this manner. Yeah. Anyways. Yeah. It's a nice thing to move around economically, like tritone substitutions. I don't really understand tritone substitutions. One of these days I will learn about it properly. I also slept poorly, Leah. If you start with a normal Rubik's Cube, you have the front face taken to be plus Z. So what you can do is artificially hide it and see 5 faces at once. Did I do a series on Hecke-Peterson theory? Maybe interesting. No, I haven't done a series on that, but, not inconceivable. You used to play in Mixolydian flat 6 a lot. Interesting. Yeah, there's so much I have yet to learn about all that stuff. There's a video on Wonderwall being played in all modes. Nice. And one of them is actually really good. Wonderwall could have been good. The problem with Wonderwall is that it was really good. That was its problem. It was too good. Too good for its own good. The modes are all in the same loop, but with different ending points, so you can always keep going in the same way. Yeah. C Lydian and G major. Yes. Yes. Yeah. So going up a dimension, we're hiding the face of the cube. Dun, dun, dun. The tritone substitution has a name far more complicated than it actually is. I also really like. I realized putting the major version of a chord and minor version of a chord next to each other. I love that. And again, Radiohead does it in Nude. So I'm learning a lot. I'm learning a lot by looking at artists that I want to emulate. I feel like I want to make music that is somehow a mix of Radiohead, Elliott Smith, and Queens of the Stone Age. Somehow I want to combine these three things in my writing, and maybe pepper in some like Tigran, Hamashian, and Chopin. Yeah, I feel like I want to write. I want to write music that sounds like whatever that unholy combination would be. Tips on writing a research proposal for a master's degree. You're still in second year, but the deadline is in April. Should you be an honest but incompetent, or dishonest? Absolutely not dishonest but grandiose. People will see through your bullshit, but don't tell them you're incompetent. Yeah, don't tell them you're incompetent. Like, find a happy medium there or something. Um, yeah, yeah. Um, Yeah, research proposal. I mean, you shouldn't be telling them at all about your competence, other than you should be saying, "Oh, here's the relevant background that I have for this project." I mean, ideally, someone should be helping with your proposal for masters. Someone should be helping you with this, right? Perhaps yeah, someone should be. Hey, I didn't shit on Oasis. I shat on Wonderwall. Um, I said that song was too good for its own good. Um, but yeah, what else to say about your master's proposal? Yeah, yeah. What do you really need to do? You just need to convince them that you have a non-trivial amount of background in the area and that you've done some reading, right? That you have some idea of something to work on. Um, so, but wait, if you're in the second year of your bachelor's, why are you working on your master's proposal already? Are you just so smart that you're almost done your bachelor's already? Um, when you first played in Mixolydian Flat 6, you hadn't heard a lot of modes. After learning about modes, you realized what it was you were playing. Okay, cool. I'm going to write that down, actually. Mixo Flat 6. I'm going to try and play around with that later today. You don't think about it in tritones at all. Also, C major versus C minor. Yeah. Like in the song "Nude" by Radiohead, they do G to G minor, or is it G minor to G? Either way, and there's lots of other artists that yeah. I'm now that I've realized that's what's happening. I'm noticing it in all these songs. So um, tell them they are incomplete and need your research to fix them. Yes, exactly. Very convincing. Um, Duo prism. I don't even know what a duo prism is. Hello, Alvaro Cella. Unfortunately, I'm leaving right away. Um, I want to make the Wonderwall of music. Please stay away from City tutoring since he's a right winger and very Christian. These people are ignorant. Well, why would I stay away from him? Reacting to his videos, good content for me. Do you see how many views I've gotten in 24 hours? This video is blowing up. You're applying for next scholarship, but since British unis are 3 years. Oh, British unis are 3 years. Jesus. Okay. Okay. You can play with adding the flat six on off and even for resolutions, unflattening the seventh, but you wouldn't do that as much. Okay. Um, music these days is a little too stuck in the key. Yeah. Maybe that's why I'm liking key changes. By the way, let me say one of the greatest videos I've ever seen in my life on anything is Leo. I think you'll get a kick out of this. So this video's is about, there's a cover of God Only Knows in BioShock, and it's a scene. It's from a scene that you could accidentally miss. Wait, where is it? There's like a music analysis video. Where is it? It's no, wait, what's the video? No, I don't want the actual. Yes, here it is. Here it is. Here it is. 8-bit music theory. It's so. This is such a cool video because he talks about how like the person did not need to go this hard for the scene that you could probably miss in the game. YouTube CA throws up in mouth. Yeah, but basically the idea is, I mean, God Only Knows already has this ambiguity to the key signature, but then for the to put it in game in this world, they wanted to make it barbershop quartet style. But there's this problem because like barbershop quartet, hey Russ, has these very rigid rules that makes it sound like barbershop quartet. And so there's this beautiful, it's this brilliant video where he talks about how this person manages to pull off preserving the sort of tonal ambiguity of the original song, but also trying to keep the adhere to the rules of barbershop quartet. It's just such a cool video. Anyways, okay, I gotta go. I got a class to teach. What is YouTube CA in Atobos? Maybe we'll answer that tomorrow. But QED.